Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Mr. Ainsworth, and we're going to get into a little advanced budgeting here, learning how to categorize your expenses, throughout the month and throughout the year. A few weeks ago, earlier in the course, we worked on this budget here, where we learned how to do a simple budget to categorize the different expenses that you have during the month, from fixed expenses, variable expenses, college expenses, since you guys are going to be going out to college next year, and holiday expenses throughout the year. How do you manage this to see where or how much money you need in your account to handle your expenses, and also how do you determine how much money is going to be going out per month and also during the year, given a fixed monthly income from your part-time job, from parents, from a school loan, from the different places where you're going to be getting your income. And then we also did some periodic investments at the bottom of the spreadsheet here. Weekly periodic investment, and then a bi-weekly, and then a monthly, and then a quarterly, just to see how much money you can get if you do a periodic deposit over 40 years, compounding either weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly. So we had fun with that a little bit earlier in the course. Now what I want to do is show you a little bit more advanced budgeting, where you learn how to categorize your expenses throughout the month and throughout the year, and then figure out the totals of the different categories of your spending, so you know where your money goes. So for example, like this is just, I made some fictitious data up here just so we can play with it, starting with $1,000 here throughout the month here of January, because notice that we're in the month of January here. This column here represents your date or the month of the expense. And in this case here, we start off with $1,000, of course. We classify it as income. I want to show you guys how to categorize your expenses through here in a spreadsheet. It's really cool. And then of course, on January 2nd right here, we go to Five Guys. We classified that as dining out. So again, you have to categorize your expense. We spent $12.23, and then we have to program how to calculate the running balance as you make expenses, or as you have expenses throughout the month. So like here on January 3rd right here, you had a paycheck coming in, and it's not in the food category, it's actually an income category. So we got to categorize that correctly. $75 came in, and then of course this should be, if it's a paycheck, the $75. Let's delete this and let's put it over here. Okay, that is in the income category, so not a debit. And of course, the running balance goes up and not down. So as you either deposit money in your account via income coming in, either from your parents or from your part-time job, or from a scholarship, or from an inheritance, some way your money's coming in, we're going to put that in the income column. And as you spend money throughout the month, like maybe go to Barnes & Noble or movies or something like that, maybe classify that as entertainment, you program the Excel so that it calculates the running balance throughout as you have expenses throughout the month. And then as you do that, we're going to learn how to figure out the totals of where your money's going. So for example, in this column right here, or in these two cells, is the income. Now we only had two sources of income so far in this hypothetical situation right here, where we deposited $1,000, and then on January 3rd, we deposited 75 more. So obviously we deposited 1,075 total. So how do you program this so that it categorizes, number one, and number two, it tells you where your money's going in the specific categories? And that's a really important thing you have to know in terms of your budgeting, because if let's say you go negative 1 month and like you overspend, like where are you overspending? Because you have to change your habits, right? You have to know where your money's going in order to change your habits, so you budget your money better, because you definitely don't want to overspend. So one of the things that people need to do is learn how to keep track of their spending and know where their money goes. And one easy way to do that is use Excel and learn how to categorize your expenses, and then also calculate the totals over a period of time. So let's do that. So what we're going to do is pull up your budget here that you made before, hit the plus sign here at the bottom right here, and that gives you a brand new sheet. Now before we get started, let's go to Canvas here because I want to show you the steps of how to make this. So we're going to go to Canvas, and I want you to go to, let me just go into the modules here so you can see it. So in the project module right here, between chapters 5 and 6 is the project module, you'll see something called Advanced Budget with Categorizing. This is where you're going to submit your assignment, but it's also where the steps are. So it says to see the steps, boom. Let's open this right here. And let me increase the size here so you can see that I just screenshotted the steps as we go through it here. So refer to this. It doesn't contain every single little step, but it gives the major steps. One of them being learning how to data validate a cell in order to categorize. So just refer to this, and what we need to do first is type in the months, like you see in green up here. So we're going to start doing that. Okay, so I'm going to go to our blank spreadsheet here. All right, and we're going to start typing in the categories. And then pause and play the video, obviously, so that you can keep up with me. All right, so we're going to type in the month here. All right, the date. And then if you use the tab key, go to the right. Return key goes down, just so you know. All right, we have to describe, do a little description here for the expense. So, what is it? Okay, so description, and then we're going to categorize it. So category. All right, we're going to classify it either as income or as an expense. We call that a debit. Okay, so debit / expense, they're the same thing pretty much. Okay, and then here we're going to calculate a running balance in your account as you make your expenses throughout the month. It's called a running balance. And then column H, we're going to leave blank. I'm just going to make that smaller. And when a title is too long for the column, you just make it a little bit longer. Okay. In column I, I'll talk about that later. We'll put our categories in here. Column J, we need a column for all the totals. So let's type in total here. All right, I'm going to highlight the row, and then I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it bold, and I'm going to make it 12 font just to make it a little bit bigger. On the column, or in the description column, you're going to need a lot more room. Category, you're going to need more room because we're going to categorize it. Let me just make this a little bit longer too so you can see the actual words here, just to make it look good. Okay, should be good to go there. And then on the category, column I is going to be where the categories are going to be. Probably going to need a little bit more room here too. Okay, so having done that, let's get started. So what we need to do first is start with the date column. Okay, now dates, you want to format the date, so you go to format. All right, and you got to tell Excel what kind of number it is, and guess what, it's a date. So we're going to format the date so that when you enter in let's say 1/1, which is January 1st, and you hit the tab key, boom, it changes to January 1st, 1/1/2022. It formats it as a date. Pretty cool. Now the month number is pulled off the date, and I'll show you that here in a minute after we get some fictitious hypothetical data in here. So we need some data to play with. All right, so let's just refer off my steps right here, and I'm just going to put in some of these fictitious data right here. And so refer to that, okay? Oops, okay, so let's say that we need a starting balance here, so we need some money to start with. Okay, you got to put money in your account in order to spend it, so we're going to call this starting balance. All right, we'll categorize it later. That's a major step in the process here, so I'll show you that later. And let me see the starting balance. Let's say we put 1,000 into the account. Okay, it's not a debit; it's a source of income. And notice that it doesn't look like currency right now. So what we need to do right now is format the income, the debit, and the running balance, because these are all monetary values. So you go up here to the menu and you select Format as Currency. And notice it puts in the dollar signs right here and commas and decimal points, which is kind of nice. It makes it look like currency. All right. So then what we need to do is we need a few more hypothetical things. So let's say on January 2nd here, something else happens. And so let's say we go to Five Guys. Okay, I'm just making this stuff up. And again, we just need some numbers to play with in order to check the spreadsheet to make sure it works correctly. We'll categorize it a little bit later. And if you go to Five Guys and spend some money, it's going to obviously cost you something, so it's kind of expensive. So let's say you pay for you and your buddy, and if you pay for two people, it's going to be around $25 at Five Guys because it's not cheap. Okay, and let's say on January 3rd, 1-3, we get a paycheck, right? You get a paycheck on that day. And again, this is all hypothetical. We just need some data to play with to get a paycheck. And like I said earlier, we'll categorize this later. That's a major step in the process. It's not a source of income. It's an expense. Or excuse me, it is a source of income because it's a paycheck. So let's say you deposit $1,000 into your account. You did well that period. Okay. On January 4th, something else happened. So let's say that you go to the bookstore, Barnes and Noble. All right, and you buy some books. All right, and then it's an expense, and let's say you spend $50 on books. Okay. On January 5th, that's 1-5. Let's say you get hungry, and so you meet your buddies, and you go to In-N-Out. Okay. All right, and then you spend some money. It's cheaper there, so let's say you only spend $10. January 6th. All right, you need some gas. So let's say you go to the gas station, you gas up. Gas expensive. So let's say you put $100 in your tank because it's not cheap anymore. My God, we're in the year 2022, and gas is over $6 a gallon. It's crazy. We've never seen that before in the history. So on January 7th, we need a few more numbers here to kind of play with things and see what's going on. Let's say we go to Stater Brothers and you buy some groceries because some of you guys are going to be doing that. Okay. Oops, Stater. I'm not the greatest typist here, so Stater Brothers. And you buy some groceries, take them home because you guys are living on your own now. Some of you guys, or living with roommates as you go through college. And let's say you spend $200 at Stater Brothers. Okay. And we'll add some more expenses later, but let's just say that we have this fictitious data here, and you guys are going to change this and personalize this after we design the spreadsheet and after we put all the formulas in. Okay. So, and then personalize it. And you'll see what I'm talking about as we get started here. So we have some data, and now we can kind of play with things. So the first thing we need to do is figure out the running balance. And this is important because you need to know how much money is in your account, as you make your expenses in the month, because you definitely don't want to go negative. All right, so in the beginning here, the running balance or the running balance that you start with is equal to the income that you put in the beginning, which is your starting balance. So in Excel, you never type in numbers, you write formulas, okay, and then it calculates everything for you. And the first running balance, okay, is your first income, so it's equal to E2. All right, so you click on E2 or type in E2 and you hit the enter button, and notice that you're starting with 10,000 because that is your starting balance. That's the money that you put in the account in the beginning. And then as you go through the month, obviously if you have an expense, it's going to decrease. If you have income and you're depositing money in there, it's going to go up. So it's going to fluctuate throughout the month, right? And we call that the running balance. So we need to program that in. So go to G3 here. And again, this is column G, row 3. Okay, it even says, let me see. Well, it says over here in the upper left-hand corner of your spreadsheet. Okay, so G3 is equal to, all right, the previous balance, which is 10,000, all right, plus E3 here, which is your income source. And now there's no number in there, but there will be, okay, as you go throughout the month. All right, but so you have to add your income at that point in time, and then you have to subtract your expense. So minus your expense at Five Guys, right there, and then you hit enter. And notice that we're $25 less. 10,000 here minus 25 is equal to 9,975. Now earlier in the course we did this all by hand. Okay, we added, subtracted, depending on what happened throughout the month as we make expenses and as we have deposits in our checking account. But you need to program Excel because it does it all for you. Okay, so one more time, this right here is equal to 10,000 right here plus your income minus your expense. All right, and the formula is right up here in the bar up here at the very top of the spreadsheet. G2 plus E3 minus F3. You can see it in the upper left-hand corner. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to apply that formula to all the cells. And so what you do when you're going to copy a formula down is you grab this little square here, and your cursor changes from an arrow to a let's say a crosshairs, okay? And you just simply drag it down. And let's go down to, let's say, I don't know, row 100, because you might have a lot of expenses. And you can continue this. So if you need more rows throughout the month, okay, well, no problem. Excel's infinite, and it'll keep on going. You just copy your formula down, and it'll keep on applying. So let's see if this is working. So 9,975. Okay, if you add 1,000 to it, all right. Right here, if you add 1,000, because that's a paycheck, right? So it increases your balance in your account. It goes up to 10,975. That makes sense. All right, and then minus this expense right here at Barnes & Noble, obviously decreases by $50. And so what you do is you check your spreadsheet and make sure that it's calculating the right values, because you're the programmer, okay? And it's only as good as you program it. All right, so that's why you have to have some data in your spreadsheet in order to check your formulas to make sure it's working correctly. That's why we put in some data first. And then later on, you're going to delete the descriptions here and delete the debits and then put in your own values. You're going to personalize it. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to learn how to categorize it. So I want you to go to your steps here, and I want you to go to, let me see, I think it's page 2. Yeah, page 2. And we need to learn how to categorize it using what's called data validation. All right, so you might want to print this off and put it side by side, okay? Might make it easier for you. So, because right now you don't type in the categories, all right, you have to select it from a drop-down menu. And speaking of categories, you got to put the categories in. So we got to state the categories first before you do any data validation. So in my steps here, you'll notice I already have the categories in on the column I right here, and look at all the categories: income, food, ATM, entertainment, gas, clothes, car repair. This right here has to be customized for you. And so if you're doing this on your own, you got to figure out what are the important categories for you. Now, these are the categories for me because, obviously I'm older than you. I have a family. I have a ranch. I have a lot of animals, and we have a lot of expenses. So in order to figure out where my money's going, I have to put all these in. For you right now, since you guys are going into college, you got to have categories that pertain to you. Like I wouldn't put college tuition in my categories, because I'm obviously graduated and I already went through college years ago. But you got to put in things that are obviously important for you. So refer to this and personalize it. So the first category that you need for everybody, I don't care who you are, is income. All right, how much income are you getting? We'll calculate the totals later, okay? And I'll show you how to do all that. So income category, and again, refer to my steps right there. I'm just going to type in what we have. We need a groceries. Okay, so if you live with some friends in college, like I used to live in college with 3 other roommates, and it was a great period of time in my life. Okay, and you had to go to the store and buy your own food. So groceries, like Stater Brothers, Albertsons. If you go shopping, okay, that goes in the grocery category. Dining out is different. Okay, that's optional. That's a luxury. So I'm going to classify that differently. So if we go out, like the Five Guys or In-N-Out, that's going to be categorized differently. So dining out is different than buying groceries and eating in, which is a lot cheaper, by the way. And then if you go to the movies, okay, we're going to classify that as entertainment. Okay, I don't care how young you are or how old you are, you're going to have an entertainment category because we all do stuff. Okay, and if you do anything fun, all right, you're going to put that in the entertainment category. Everybody has a gas expense throughout the month. Okay, I'm just looking at some basic things here. Some of you guys are paying for your own clothes already, so you might want to categorize that. Everybody gets a haircut from time to time, whether you're a girl or guy, it doesn't matter. Classify that under beauty. Okay, and so if that's cosmetics, shaving, supplies, guys, anything that respect to hygiene and beauty, classify that under that. That is a big expense, especially for girls, because when you guys do your hair and everything and all that special stuff, that's expensive. For me, it's $20, but for girls, it could be very expensive. All right, and makeup and all that, that's expensive too. So that goes in the beauty category. your car maintenance, everybody has to deal with that. I'm talking about oil changes and stuff like that. So even if you don't have a car payment, you're gonna have car maintenance. All right, and so oil changes, tire rotations, car washes, anything like that. Okay, that's under car maintenance. Let's see. Oh, rent. Some of you guys are going to be renting, so you might want to do something like that. Let me see. Oh, for you guys, college expenses here. So college tuition. Okay, other things in college, like college supplies. For me, when I went to college, I had a lot of college supplies because I first went into architecture, and my God, there were so many different supplies I needed, so I had to keep track of my money there. College books. Books is a huge thing. It costs anywhere from $300 to $500 every semester. So college books, just put in things that make sense to you guys, right? So you're going to continue this list here, and you need to spend time on this. You got to figure out where is your money going so that you can categorize it. Once again, my list, my categories in column I here are pretty vast because I have a lot of things that we spend money on. Okay, and I have a home, obviously, so I have a home repair category, and then I have categories for my animals and everything. We just took our dog to the vet, so I have vet bills. So we got to figure out where our money's going. Okay, and so continue this list right here. Pause the video and continue your list and personalize it. And then it doesn't matter how many categories you have. The steps of programming this is the same. Okay, so let's just play with this right now. And let's categorize our fictitious things in here. Okay, these are all hypothetical, like I said, because we need some data and some things in order to understand the spreadsheet. So let's back up here and let's learn how to categorize all our expenses throughout the month. So the first thing we do, and again, this is in your page 2 of your steps in here, where it says data validation, right here. So just refer to this. This is what I'm going to be talking about right now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to highlight column D, but I want to deselect the category, the heading. Okay, so I'm going to hold down my control key here, and I'm going to click on category, and notice that it's deselected. So the entire column is selected except the heading. And I'm going to go up here where it says data, because I want to do something called data validation. Go down to data validation, and you'll see it says what's the list from a range. Okay, now if you look at my spreadsheet here, my category is in column I. Okay, in fact, let me actually highlight that so we can refer to that. So I'm going to just highlight the categories. I'm going to do a simple fill color here. And what we want to do on these categories is what's called data validation. So, okay, so let's go back here. I'm going to click on column D now. I'm going to deselect by holding down the control key. I'm going to deselect the heading. I'm going to go up to data and select data validation. And then what I'm going to do is put in the cell range for my categories. Now, my income category is in column I, row 2. And then my college book category is in let's see, I'm going to count row 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, it's in row 13. And you can see that on your spreadsheet too. If you go to college books and go to the left, it's in row 13. So my categories are in I2, or range from I2 to I13. And that's what you type in your data validation. But because they're constant here and they don't change position, we need to include the $sign. So if you look at my steps right here, and I'm talking about theirs, notice that I say not I2 to I26. I put $sign I, $2, semicolon, and then $sign I, $26, because my range in my example in here ranges from I2 to I26. But again, it can't change. It's constant, and to do that, you have to use the $sign. Okay, so for me, my range in my categories goes from I2 to I13. So instead of going I2, okay, I go use the $sign. So $sign I, all right, $sign 2, and then semicolon. So I go from start to finish. So from I2 to I13. So $ I again, and then $13, because I go from I2 to I13. That's where my categories are, and then I click on the save button. And then these drop-down menus should appear. So when you see these little triangles, they're drop-down menus. And notice that everything I put in column I here, all my categories, automatically pops up in my drop-down menu so I can categorize the expense. So for example, my starting balance was an income, so I'm going to call it income. And then Five Guys, well, that's dining out. Okay, remember, dining out is different than buying groceries at Vaughn's, Albertsons, or Stater Brothers when you live on your own. Okay, because it's a luxury. Going out is a luxury, and it's a lot more expensive to go out than make your own food at home. And then a paycheck, that's income. Barnes and Noble, that is entertainment. Okay, In and Out is dining out. Gas is obviously gas. And then Stater Brothers is groceries. Okay, and so what you do is you classify your expense as you make your expenses throughout the month. Pretty cool. Now you got to figure out how much of your money throughout the month is going to entertainment. How much money is coming in your income? How much money are you spending on gas? How much money are you spending on food? Where is your money going? And so that's this column here. Where are these totals, or how do you get these totals? And this is the most important part of the spreadsheet, and it's the trickiest to program. But here we go. So what we need to do before we program the totals, is I need to pull off the month number from the date of the expense, and that's easy to do. Okay, so these are all in January, so month 1, but you don't type in 1. You want to automatically pull the month over using a formula, because we're going to go from January to February. We're going to keep this expense spreadsheet is going to go for the whole year. Okay, so you're going to have hundreds of expenses after the year is over. All right, and watch how powerful this is. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in a formula here, and we're going to type in equals month, okay, parentheses, and then our date is in B2. So you can type in B2 or you can click on B2. It doesn't matter. I just click on it. Unless you want a good typist, you just type it in. All right, hit the enter button, and notice that it pulls off the month 1. So if I change this to, let's say, March 1st, which is 3/1, notice that it changes to 3. All right. If we're in December, that's 12/1. All right. Notice it pulls off the number 12. Okay, so it's very, very simple. I'm going to go back to January 1st, though, so 1/1. And then what we're going to do is, whenever you want to copy a formula, you go to the cell where the formula's been written. Okay, and notice the formula's up at the top right here in cell number A2. All right, I grab the little corner here and I drag it down. Okay, and you just keep on going down. You go down, it doesn't matter how far, because throughout the year you're going to need more rows, and so you're going to have to extend your spreadsheet to whatever. So to 200 rows, 300 rows, you can go as far as you want. All right, it has no limit. So which is cool. So now what we need to do is we need to program the month number. So let's go to I1 right up here at the very top, and let me see let's go to the steps here. So let's go to the next page here. Okay, we did the running balance. That's this one here. Here we go, right here. So go to this page in your notes right here where we program the month number. And again, it's a data validation step. And obviously there are 12 months in a year. And so we want to pull it from a drop-down menu. So we do not, type in the number there. We use a drop-down menu, as you're going to find out. Okay, so right here, what are we going to do? Put your cursor at I1, okay, column I, row 1. Go up to data validation. Click on data validation. Now here we got to change a little bit. If you look at your notes right here, notice it's a little bit different. We got to change it from list of range or range to list of items, and the items are the month numbers 1 through 12 separated by commas. All right, so I'm going to change it from list from a range because I don't want that. Okay, I want a list of items here, and I'm going to type in the numbers 1 through 12 separated by commas. So 1, 2, all the way up to obviously 12, because there's 12 months in a year. Okay, so notice that. Double check that before you select save, because you want to make sure that you didn't make any mistakes there. And make sure it says list of items. Common mistake people make is when they watch this or go through these steps right here is they don't change it from a list from a range to a list of items. Okay, so make sure you select list of items. Click on save, and then a drop-down menu appears. So if you click on the drop-down menu, notice you get 1 through 12 because there's only 12 months in a year. So select 1 for the first month. If you want data from or the totals for month 2, you're going to select 2 for February, select 3 for March, select 12 for December, and so on, or select 11 for November. And it'll give you the totals of all your expenses throughout the year for any month you want. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, that's bitching, okay? So, okay, now here we go. We're almost done with the spreadsheet, by the way, all right? And then you can start using it and, delete these fictitious or hypothetical expenses right here and then put in your own and start using your spreadsheet and figure out where your money's going because it's important, guys. All right, so here we go. So on this right here, I want you to refer to the next page in your notes, all right, in your steps, and see right here. Okay, so you notice on this one, you see where the income is highlighted in here in column J, all right, and the formula is at the very top. Okay, so look at this, right? It's called a sum ifs formula. And we need to sum the income categories if, that's why there's sum if, and it's plural because we have to select the criteria. So we're going to sum the income if based upon certain criteria, and all the criteria is separated with commas. And so you're going to follow this strategy right here. All right, so here we go. We're going to select equals, type in equals. All right, sum ifs. All right, make sure you make it plural. Okay, parentheses. All right, and then, well, you got to spell it right. Okay, so let me back up here. My typing's not the greatest. All right, which is a big deal because if you don't type it incorrectly in programming, it doesn't matter what you're programming, whether it's Excel or C, C+, or any kind of program language, everything is very, very meticulous. And if you get the comma wrong or semicolon wrong or anything wrong, the program will not work, flat out will not work. So you gotta be careful. Now, Google Sheets or Excel asks you certain questions based upon certain criteria. It says, what's the sum range? Okay, and what we want to do is right now we want to calculate the sum of all the income, which is in column E. So I'm going to click on column E here. And notice that E, it comes up as E semicolon E. Well, that means the entire column. And notice the entire column is highlighted. Okay, you want that because all the income, the sources of income, whether it's money coming from your part-time job or from your parents or from a scholarship or inheritance or wherever the income's coming from, is all in column E. The debits are in column F. The income's coming in from column E. And then you go comma, and then Google Sheets asks you the next criteria range. Well, I want the income based upon the month number. Okay, so what we need to do, okay, is click on where the month number is coming from, and it's coming from column A. So click on column A, and then hit comma. All right, and then it asks you what's the next criterion. Okay, well, our month number is being pulled from I1. Okay, and that's what we did earlier here. We want to select the month number now, and because you want to be able to pull the data either from month 1 or month 2, depending on what you want to look at. Right now, that's located in I1. Okay, but we got to be careful here. I1 it's always an I1, and because we're going to be copying this formula down, I don't want it to change. The month number is always an I1. So it's very important right here that you put in a $sign. So $I and then $1 to keep it constant because oops, oh, I didn't mean to hit enter here. So let me go back to that. Sorry. Hit comma. And then it's very important that you go $I, $1 to keep that location of the month number constant. And that's what in Excel, that's what's used. So whenever you want to keep either the column, which is always a letter, or the row constant, you have to use the $sign. Sometimes only one of them is constant and one's changing. So you have to know, about your spreadsheet about which one, what to do at any particular time, like when to keep it constant and when not to. Okay, now it needs the second criteria. So we selected the income in column E, and then the month number in column A, which is dictated by the month number in I1. All right, but we need to also look at the category column, which is column D. So click on column D here, and anything that's labeled income will be pulled out and into the sum and added up, okay? So notice that's the last one, and then one final one here, so go comma. Okay, and then we need to state the last criterion too, and that's income itself, and income in my category is in I2. Okay, now all my categories in column I, but so I'm going to go $I, because they're all in I, so $I, and then I'm going to type in 2, but I'm not going to go $2 here, because I'm going to copy this formula down, and the categories in column I, so that's constant, but groceries is an I3, dining out is an it's an I4, entertainment's an I5. So I don't want the row number to be constant, I just want the column to be constant. Okay, so notice there's only $1 right there. Be very, look at very closely at that, because only the column I is constant, because categories are all in column I, but notice that they changed their row number from row 2 to row 3 to row 4 and so on. Now at this point, go ahead and hit enter, and we're going to see if this makes sense. Okay. Now first of all, the totals are monetary values, so click on column J and make them currency, and let's see if this number makes sense. Okay, it says in January, in month 1, which is January, I have a total income of $11,000. Well, the income expense, let me highlight this here. So we have 2 income expenses so far. Okay, I'm only highlighting these just so you can see them. Okay, so January 1st, we had an income of $10,000, we deposited. And January 3rd, right here, we had more income of 1,000, so 10,000 plus 1,000 is 11,000. Okay, so it makes sense. The spreadsheet's working so far. Okay, so I'm going to deselect that. Okay, so now what we want to do is do it for all the expenses. Now the formula, we can't just copy this formula down, okay, because income is different than expense. So we have to write one more formula here for the other expenses, because groceries, dining out, entertainment, all that, those are expenses, as opposed to income, that's a deposit. Okay, so that's a little bit different here. So it's going to be a sum if formula. So type in equals sum ifs, parentheses, and then again, it's very similar to the previous one, but the expenses are coming in from column F and not column E. That's why we couldn't just copy the formula down from J2. All right, it's a little bit different. So we're going to click on column F now, all right, and you'll see F, semicolon F come up, and go comma, and then we want to pull the month number from it, column A, all right, comma, all right, and we, based upon the month number here in I1, and this is where we use the $, so $I, all right, $1 to keep it constant, okay, comma, column D, and this will pull out, like on groceries right here, if any is labeled groceries, which it was in January 7th when we went to Stater Brothers, all right, that will do that. And then comma, and then again, I, so $I, because all the categories are in column I, so you got to fix that, make it constant, so go $I. Now groceries is not an I2, like income's on I2, groceries is an I3, so you type in 3. Okay, and you hit enter. So what happened here? What did I do wrong? So when this happens, when you get an error, you did something wrong. So what did I do? So we got to go back up here. What did I do wrong? So FFAA $. Oh, right here in my formula here, I put a period, not a comma. Okay, do you see, guys? Do you see that? That's why. So any little thing like that is going to screw things up. Okay, a comma is different than a period, which is different than a semicolon, which is different than a colon. So you got to make sure you program and type in the right stuff. All right, so I'm going to put a comma in. All right, and then I'm going to hit enter, and now it's working. Okay, so let's check it though. Is groceries, should it be 200? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. Okay, so we look here. It's Stater Brothers on January 7th here. Stater Brothers, it's grocery category, it's $200, and that makes sense. So it's working. Now the rest of the categories are all expenses. There's nothing else that is money coming in or depositing. So what I'm going to do is I can copy this formula all the way down, which I want to do. So I'm going to grab this formula, copy it down, and notice that it totals up the rest of the categories in the spreadsheet. So let's check dining out. Should it be $35? Well, let's see. Five Guys was 25. All right, and then In and Out was 10. 25 plus 10 is 35. Looks like it's working. Entertainment should only be 50. That's correct. Gas, let's see. We have a gas expense. It's $100. Let's put another one in. Let's see what happens. Let's say January. So 1-8. That's January 8th. All right. Let's say we have another gas expense. Okay. So let's categorize it here under gas. All right, and it's not an income, it's a debit. And let's say we need to fill up there, and let's say we only need $80, okay? And so the first gas expense was 100, the next one was 80, so obviously that's $180. And notice that our total right here is these guys right here. Oh, you know what? Let's change this right here to not red, but black and bold, and then this one here, let's make it red. Okay, so all the red are expenses, black is income, so that's a deposit. So it looks like it's working correctly here. And so as you go through the month, all right, things change. Now let's jump into January, for example, and I'll show you how to change the month number. So let's say January 2nd, so 2-2, not January, February, sorry. So February 2nd, we have a paycheck, let's say. All right, paycheck. So you got to categorize it. So that's income. So bring it under income here, and you put it in the income category. So let's say that you have $500 coming in. Let's just put a few more expenses in here. And then in January, you have an expense. Okay, let's say, not January, I keep saying January. February, let's say February 5th. So 2-5, that's February. Second month of the year. All right, and let's say you have an expense. Let's say you have college books. So college books, all right, you got to pay for those guys. Okay, college books right there, and you classify it. So let's classify it, and it's an expense. And let's say you spend $300 on books on February 5th. Okay, so now you want to see what's going on in the month of February. So you come up here to I1, which is where your month number is. And let's say I want to analyze February's expenses. Okay, so right now we only have two things going on in February. All right, so we had a paycheck, a $500 paycheck coming in, so we deposited that. Notice the income is $500, and then we had to pay for books that on February 5th. And notice that right here, college right there says 300. So you can change it to any month you want. So again, this is your month number here. And if you go to March, all right, we don't have any expenses in March yet. But let's put one in. Let's just play with it. So let's say March 7th, okay? And let's say we go out to dinner, and let's say we go to I don't know, go out to a restaurant. Yard House, okay? Ooh, yeah, Yard House. Okay, I like Yard House. All right, now that right there, that's dining out. So click on dining out, and Yard House is expensive. Let's say we spend $150. Okay, now that happened in March. So notice that that's my only expense, and notice that the income, or not the income, dining out changed to $150. Okay, and let's say March, so March 8th, we get paid. Okay, so there's a paycheck in there. So paycheck, and then again, you got to classify it as income. And then let's say you get paid $450. All right, so you got some income coming in, and notice that the income changed to $450. Well, let's say, hey, your dad said, hey, what are your expenses in month 1, in January? Well, then all you do is change it to month 1, and you can let them know what your expenses are in January. Or in any month you want. February, select month 2. If you want to change it to March, select month 3. And it gives you the totals of all your expenses throughout any month of the year as you make your expenses. And again, this is so cool because this thing never ends. You can just copy your formulas down. So if you need more rows, just copy the formula down further and continue this for the entire year. And you can see where your money's going. How sweet is that? Okay. And that is how you do it, my friends. What you need to do now is select all these guys and delete them. All right, just select it and delete it and do the same thing here. All right, do that and then start. And then, of course, you got to delete all these values here too as well. Be careful here. You don't want to, just delete these. Don't delete the formulas here in the running balance because that will you don't want to mess up your spreadsheet. All right, so just delete the numbers here so you can start over. And notice it changes to 0 here. And then customize this. And of course, change your categories as you make your expenses. So you guys need to personalize it and start using it. And then when you do that, and after you get it all done and personalize it, then you can share it with me and turn it into Canvas. Okay. So I'm going to put the data back in just so I can show you guys something here. So when you share it with me and submit it in Canvas, let me show you what I'm talking about here. It says before submitting, personalize it, make it fit you. Okay. Change the categories to fit your lifestyle. Start by using it and keep track of your expenses and know where your money goes. Number 2, use a video. Okay, well, obviously this is a video. Once completed over break, submit it here, not as a PDF, but as a URL link. So what in the world am I talking about? So let's go to your spreadsheet here. Click on the share button. Okay, and notice it says restricted. Okay, so what I want you to change it. You could change it like to anybody with the link. Okay, you can keep it Temecula Valley because I'm obviously in Temecula Valley Unified School District. So you can keep it like that. That's fine. You can change it viewer, editor. Viewer is fine for me when you share it with me because I don't want to edit and I just want to look at it. All right, you're going to copy the link. All right, select done. And then you're going to go to Canvas, and which is right here. And you're going to, this is not the student version right here, but you're going to submit it here. And you're going to paste the URL link, okay, into Canvas. And so when I look at it, I click on the link and then your spreadsheet pops up. So you're not going to print it to a PDF this time. You're going to just submit the link so I can actually see the full spreadsheet in actuality. Okay? And that's how you do it. All right, there we go. And so obviously this is a video, so if you need to rewind and listen to any portion of it, go for it. Okay, that's what I do when I learn things, using videos. All right, so this is Mr. Aynesworth here. I'll see you in class. Take care, guys.